The business-class cabin of Flight 789 shimmered in amber light as the Boeing 777 prepared to leave New York for London. Crystal flutes glowed in the afternoon sun. Soft jazz hummed through the air. Passengers in tailored suits typed on tablets and sipped champagne. Astrid Sterling adjusted her crimson dress and watched a tall man wrestle an oversized carry-on and a pink unicorn backpack. His shoulders filled the aisle. His patience was thinning. She tapped her manicured nails on the armrest. Equal parts amused and irritated, Nathan Hayes ignored the glances. He focused on fastening the safety belt of his 7-year-old daughter, Olivia. Once he had tracked enemy aircraft at 30,000 feet. Now his world was his child's seatbelt. He checked it twice before kneeling beside her window. Olivia's curls bounced as she pressed her nose to the glass, watching the ground crew below. Her sketchbook lay open, page after page of hand-drawn airplanes labeled in crooked handwriting. Wing flaps, engine intake. Each detail came from evenings spent building model jets with her father. Astrid's gaze hardened. She was 34, CEO of a technology consultancy worth hundreds of millions, her trademark blonde power bob gleaming under the cabin lights. Years of betrayal had taught her to judge quickly, to measure worth by appearance and polish. Captain Henry Collins, 45, ran his pre-flight checks with practiced calm. Beside him, First Officer George Miller rubbed his temple. Probably just airport food, he'd said earlier, pale beneath cockpit lights. Flight 789 pushed from the gate. The engines roared. Manhattan shrank below. Nathan turned the safety card into a game for Olivia, making oxygen mask sound effects until she giggled. Her laughter softened even the business travelers' stone faces, except Astrid's. When Evelyn Brooks, the lead attendant, passed through to check seatbelts, she caught the tension between the elegant woman and the exhausted father. Astrid's remark carried just loud enough. Business class isn't for everyone. Some people should consider whether they can afford the lifestyle before buying the ticket. A couple of executives chuckled. Nathan's jaw flexed, but he said nothing. He remembered Sarah's voice, his late wife's, weak yet insistent from her hospital bed. Don't let pride steal her joy. Daddy, why are they laughing? Olivia whispered. He knelt beside her again. Because some people need to make noise, sweetheart. We're exactly where we're supposed to be. She smiled, clutching her book about the little plane with the big heart. Astrid looked away, unsettled by a feeling she couldn't name. At 35,000 feet over the Atlantic, trouble came. A jolt shook the plane hard enough to send drinks sliding and champagne glasses rattling. A burnt metal smell filled the cabin. In the cockpit, red lights flashed across the panels. Captain Collins steadied the yoke. Talk to me, George. No reply. Miller's face had gone ashen. Sweat ran down his temples. He tried to speak, then stiffened and collapsed forward. Evelyn to the cockpit, now. Collins radioed, wresting the aircraft as it listed right. An engine sputtered, coughing metallic thunder. Screams rose from economy. Panic rippled forward. Astrid's champagne glass shattered on the floor. Then the captain's voice, steady but edged with urgency. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We're experiencing technical difficulties. If there are any current or former pilots on board, military or civilian, please identify yourself to the crew immediately. The cabin went silent. Evelyn scanned faces, searching. Nathan's mind split in two. Stay out of danger, he'd promised Sarah. But Olivia's hand gripped his. The plane trembled again. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a worn ID card. Lieutenant Colonel Nathan Hayes, U.S. Air Force, 22nd Fighter Squadron. He kissed Olivia's hair. I'll be right back. Remember, brave hearts fly higher. Her eyes shone with faith. I know you'll fix it, Daddy. Nathan stood, every gaze turning toward him. Evelyn met him halfway. One look at the ID and she knew. That's my daddy, Olivia said proudly. He flew the fastest planes in the Air Force. He can fly anything. Astrid watched, realization hitting like turbulence. The man she'd mocked now moved with command and precision. His worn jacket, suddenly a uniform of quiet authority. In the cockpit, Collins fought the controls as alarms blared. Hydraulics failing. Engine 2 unstable. We're losing electrical routing. Nathan slid into the jump seat. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, retired. 2,000 combat hours. Tell me what you need. Collins didn't hesitate. My first officer's down. I'll fly. You handle comms and systems. Copy that. Nathan's hands flew across the unfamiliar panel, scanning, resetting, improvising. We've got partial hydraulics. Temperature spiking. I'll try to reroute pressure. What's our nearest diversion? Shannon, Ireland. 90 minutes. Evelyn returned to the cabin, voice steady over her racing pulse. Seatbelts tight, everything stowed. Listen for instructions. Passengers clung to armrests. Prayers replaced pretense. Astrid, for the first time in her life, couldn't buy control. Olivia sat coloring her sketchbook, calm amid chaos. When a businessman beside her hyperventilated, she offered gum. Daddy says it helps with nerves. In the cockpit, lightning tore the sky. Rain hammered the windshield. The plane lurched. Alarm screamed. Nathan's tone stayed surgical. Altitude 33,000. Engine 2 temp in yellow. Hydraulics 40 to 60%. Recommend descent before we lose full control. Collins nodded. Starting descent. They coordinated by instinct. Pilot and soldier united by necessity. Outside, the Atlantic boiled with storm clouds. Inside, two men wrestled physics. Brace positions. Captain Collins shouted as the altimeter needle quivered. The plane dropped fast, too fast. Passengers screamed as ceiling panels rattled and overhead bins popped. Olivia's drawing pencil rolled away, spinning between rows before vanishing under seats. Astrid clutched her armrest so hard her diamond bracelet snapped, scattering gems across the floor. Her pulse roared in her ears. She had built an empire negotiating billion-dollar deals, but now her fate rested on a stranger she judged as unworthy of a seat beside her. Nathan's voice cut through the storm. Left engine holding, but we're losing fuel pressure. I'll divert through manual feed. Collins gave a quick nod. Do it. We'll drop to 20,000, buy us more oxygen margin. Nathan rerouted hydraulics using the analog backup panel, muscle memory from old combat jets guiding his hands. Sweat stung his eyes. Evelyn stumbled in, holding a radio. Med kits with the co-pilot. He's not responding. Pulse faint. Should I get help from the passengers? Nathan's eyes flicked back, sharp but calm. Yes. Ask for a doctor. And tell my daughter I'm fine. Lightning forked across the windshield, white fire slicing through darkness. The captain fought to steady the yoke, metal groaning like a wounded beast. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Transatlantic 789, Nathan radioed. We have partial hydraulics failure, one pilot incapacitated, one engine unstable. Attempting emergency diversion to Shannon Airport. Souls on board, 212. The static swallowed his last word. Then a metallic explosion. The right engine burst in a spray of sparks and smoke. The cabin lights flickered, went dark, then dimmed to emergency red. Gasps echoed. Olivia screamed once, then went silent, gripping her stuffed unicorn like a lifeline. Evelyn knelt beside her. Your dad's doing everything he can, sweetheart. He's the best we've got. Yeah, Olivia whispered. He always is. Astrid's chest tightened. For the first time in years, she prayed. Not for wealth, not for victory, but for the life of a little girl and her father. The fight for control. Collins barked. We've lost thrust balance. Nathan's fingers flew over switches. Feathering engine 2. We'll glide if we have to. Hold heading 080. You've done this before, Collins said through gritted teeth. Nathan's answer was quiet. A few times, usually with missiles behind me. The captain smirked despite everything. Glad you're on my side. In the cabin, oxygen masks dropped. Evelyn and her team moved like dancers through chaos, securing passengers, calming panic. Astrid tried to help an elderly woman whose mask tangled. Her hands shook, but she managed it. For the first time, she served instead of commanded. Through the window, the storm finally broke. Below, a patch of Irish coast shimmered in the distance. Wet fields under gray dawn. Visual on Shannon, Nathan said. Runway clear. Tower confirms emergency priority. Fire and med crews standing by. Good. Let's bring her home. The descent steepened. The plane shook violently. Loose items tumbled like confetti. Nathan's voice came low but firm. All right, Captain. On my mark. Flaps 15. Gear down on manual release. We'll hit hard, but she'll hold. Copy. Give me the count. 3, 2, now. The landing gear screamed as it dropped. Sparks streaked under the fuselage. The tires hit with a deafening thud, bounce, then a grinding skid. The plane veered right. Collins wrestled the yoke. Nathan countered with opposite brake. Come on, baby, he muttered. After 8 eternal seconds, the 777 slowed, rolling, groaning, until it stopped halfway down the runway. Silence, except for the hiss of rain. Then cheers. Sob laughter. Applause that rose like thunder. Aftermath. Fire crews surrounded the aircraft. Medics stormed aboard, rushing to the cockpit. Captain Collins slumped back, exhausted, his knuckles white. You just saved 200 lives, Colonel. Nathan shook his head. We saved them. He pushed open the cockpit door. Olivia broke free from Evelyn's arms and ran down the aisle, tears streaking her face. Nathan caught her mid-run, lifting her into his arms as passengers cheered again. Astrid stood frozen. Every diamond on her bracelet had scattered, but none of it mattered. She approached slowly. Mr. Hayes? He looked up. The exhaustion in his eyes softened when he saw who it was. I owe you an apology, she said quietly. I judged you before I even saw you, and I'll never forget what you did here. Nathan shrugged gently. I didn't do it for forgiveness. I know. She hesitated. Still, you have it. Olivia tugged Astrid's sleeve. Did you know my daddy was a hero? Astrid smiled faintly. I do now. Evelyn appeared beside them, her professional calm giving way to emotion. We've got ambulances ready. The co-pilot alive, thanks to that medical volunteer. Captain says the airline will contact you, Mr. Hayes. Nathan nodded, then turned to Olivia. You okay, kiddo? She grinned through tears. Best flight ever. Epilogue. 2 weeks later, Astrid Sterling stood outside a small suburban home with a single rose in her hand. Nathan opened the door, still limping slightly from a twisted knee. Ms. Sterling, he said, surprised. She smiled awkwardly. Astrid, please. I just wanted to thank you properly. My company's board met yesterday. We decided to fund a veteran scholarship program for pilots transitioning to civilian life. We're naming it after your unit. Nathan blinked, moved. That's generous. It's right, she replied. You reminded me that value isn't measured in stock prices or first-class tickets. Olivia peeked from behind her father, clutching her unicorn. Are you flying again, Daddy? He smiled. Maybe one day. Astrid crouched to her level. If you ever want to visit London, I know a few people who owe you a royal tour. Olivia giggled. Only if Daddy flies a plane. They all laughed softly. The storm was over, outside and in. As Astrid left, she glanced at the horizon. The memory of that night lingered not as terror but as revelation. Sometimes, fate forces you to fall before you learn who's truly capable of lifting you back up.